And sadly, just within 2 weeks, I'm starting a review addressing a unfortunate passing. As this past Friday, as I'm filming this late Sunday night post Easter, but yes, the final of the four main characters as far as parents go in Seinfeld, unfortunately passed away this past Friday morning, April 15th. And that, of course, is Liz Sheridan, who played Helen Seinfeld on Seinfeld. Of course, she is the last of the four parent actors that appeared more often. Years ago, Barney Martin passed away. 2 years ago, Jerry Stiller passed away. And then just about 2 weeks ago, we have Estelle Harris. And this past Friday, it's Liz Sheridan. She passed away early on Friday morning. Her manager and friend Amanda Hendon confirmed she had just celebrated her 93rd birthday earlier last week. She's always survived by her daughter and son-in-law. She had dozens of film credits. She, of course, is best known for being Helen Seinfeld, which ran for 9 seasons. She also appeared as the Snoopy neighbor, Mrs. Ochmanek, on the alien-led sitcom Alf, which I never saw. She's a trained dancer. She also made her Broadway debut in 1971 in Frank Merriwell, and appeared in also several more productions, including the Meryl Streep starring musical Happy End in 1977, until focusing primarily on film and TV after the 1980s. She also was an author and penning the autobiography Dizzy and Jimmy, about her relationship with a young pre-stardom James Dean, where the two were aspiring Broadway actors. And she had been working on developing the book into a film, according at the time of her death, according to her agent and friend Hendon. Her death comes within 2 weeks again of Estelle Harris, who played George's mother as well on the series. And of course, a lot of Seinfeld pages, are sharing a photo of all four of them staring down at each other. Of course, like they did at the end of the Raincoats episode when they were on the boat. Mention how all four of them are now in heaven. So definitely rest in peace to Liz Sheridan, who passed away this past Friday at the age of 93. So yeah, hopefully, and of course now that that's happened, the rest of this review series for Seinfeld, instead of having just Estelle Harris at the end with graphic, it'll have both Estelle Harris and Liz Sheridan. Kindly ask, please, no more. But I am going to try to pick up the pace with this review series for sure, as I have other stuff I do want to move on to. But we still got a little ways to go. We're over halfway there, but we still have some more episodes to get to. Now, the last 6 episodes of season 6 are pretty good. I do enjoy talking about them. Some of them are, of course, my personal favorites, including this one we're going to talk about, the Jimmy. So what is the Jimmy? Well, the Jimmy refers to the story about a guy at the health club who George teamed up with to play basketball against Jerry and Kramer. And George's teammate's name is Jimmy. What's significant about Jimmy is that Jimmy when he talks, likes to refer to himself in the third person. So he never says, I shot the ball, I slipped, I fell down. It's Jimmy shoots the ball. Jimmy dunks, makes the shot. Jimmy's going to town, whatnot. So, Jimmy, of course, says he gets his vertical leap very well from these training shoes that he wears. That has they're shoes, but it has this it's a little thing you can kind of help you it looks like you're basically jumping on a trampoline, except you're wearing shoes that are going to cause you to help jump higher and whatnot. It really helps your vertical leap. And of course, George, wants to purchase some from Jimmy, because Jimmy was pretty good, and he actually dunked, I think, on Jerry and Kramer when they played basketball. So, meanwhile, Jerry decided to go. Well, Jerry had a dentist appointment with, of course, Tim Whatley. I think this is the first episode we actually see him go to his actual dentist's office. So even though we've known that the few episodes Whatley's been in so far this season, we've known him as a dentist. This is the first episode we actually visit his office, with Jerry going now, and then later on in the week on a Thursday, Kramer was going to go see Whatley for his appointment. So Jerry goes, but while he's sitting in the waiting room, he notices that there's like a couple Penthouse magazines. And he's like, what? Like, why is this in a dentist's office? What's going on? So he asks Kramer to kind of, find out whenever he goes to the dentist office on Thursday. Meanwhile, Elaine is going to be going to some charity auction for the mentally challenged. And being there will be Mel Torme, the Velvet Fog, which Jerry really had no interest in going. So Elaine, though, has her eyes on this one guy at the health club, does not know his name. Of course, she says how he's very handsome, and the rest of the guys were like, they didn't want to admit that they didn't want to, express that they thought the guy was handsome or not. Which, Elaine says, it's okay to be straight, but still think a guy is handsome. But, they still wouldn't do it. But nobody else seemed interested, so Elaine was going to go and hope to get the guy's attention. So when she does, she starts stretching in front of the guy. The guy seems to smile at her, but when she finishes stretching, the guy walks away. Who is the only person left, though, in the room? Jimmy. Jimmy was on a treadmill. Jimmy started talking like, Jimmy thinks you're sweet for him or whatnot. And says how Jimmy's new in town. Jimmy was looking for doesn't really know many people. So Elaine's like, well, I like to get to know Jimmy, because she thinks that Jimmy, who she doesn't know, is talking about the other guy that she's had her eye on for a while. So Elaine says, does Jimmy like the Velvet Fog? And Jimmy says Jimmy loves the Velvet Fog. She inadvertently set herself up with a date with someone that she didn't realize who she was really to have a date with, because of all the confusion it caused. So meanwhile, though, George, though, was in a meeting with the Yankees, and he was and they're talking about how there's been someone apparently stealing equipment, but of course, just come from the shower and whatnot, from doing his workout at the health club, George was sweating, and his boss, Mr. Wilhelm, which is one of the first appearances of him in the series. We see him several times, and of course a couple of his other bosses in the upcoming episodes as well. We see them, and George is sweating, so obviously some people start getting a little suspicious of George because he's sweating as they're talking about who stole the equipment. Kramer, though, he goes to see Whatley, and he finds out that he has a brand new policy called Adults Only. So Jerry's wondering what the whole point of this is and what's going on here, and what's Whatley really up to. So, but the thing though was when Kramer went, Whatley loaded him with Novocaine. And, Kramer's talking all wonky, he's drinking his water, and he's, water's like, spilling out of his mouth and whatnot. George actually walked in and said that him and Jimmy are going to go into business together with these shoes, and even though he has a job now, he can make a lot more money off of these shoes. But then things start going downhill because Jimmy comes in, he starts showing off his moves, his new basketball moves, and then he slips on some of Kramer's drool on the floor, and he got hurt. Apparently he suffered a compound fracture or something like that. And of course he was saying he was going to get back at Kramer, but Kramer's still talking all wonky because again he's got his Novocaine in there, which is not good either for George, because him and Jimmy were both supposed to be going to a couple shoe places to pitch the idea of these shoes. But of course George does not have a good vertical leap, so sales were not going too good. What also bit him back in the butt was, even though things didn't go well, one of the stores did call him back while he was at work, but at the same time, he was eating Kung Pao chicken Chinese chicken, which is like very spicy, very hot. So he was sweating with that. So his boss, Mr. Wilhelm, caught him again, and he now starts accusing George of being the one to steal the equipment, which of course he told Steinbrenner, but George seemed like weasel out of it in some way or another. But anyways, so that causes that. Elaine later finds out also that Jimmy, the guy she was talking to, was Jimmy. So she was trying to, call off the date with him until she finds out that the guy she actually was getting attention for was gay. So that broke that date, but Elaine still thought she'd go out with Jimmy, who is on crutches now because of her fall. Kramer, meanwhile, though, he was on the street. He still, had all the Novocaine. And he also was wearing Jimmy's vertical leap training shoes. So he's trying to catch a taxi. He runs into Arnold Deansfry, who works for this committee that they're doing the charity for the mentally challenged. And basically he starts chit-chatting with Kramer, who was wearing the shoes and who was loaded up still on the Novocaine. So later, Jerry says how he met Arnold Deansfry, and they just got talking in the cab. They shared a cab, and he said he was impressed with what I do. So at the Velvet Fog, at the charity thing, he's going to be sitting at the head table with Deansfry and Mel Torme. But Jerry and Elaine were confused, like, why are you getting this opportunity? He goes, that's what I do. It's like, what do you do? But then Kramer sits down. And Kramer, first off, was the Novocaine worn off by now. Kramer sits down, puts his feet up on the table, and then they ask him, were you wearing those vertically training shoes while in the cab? He's like, yeah. And then Jerry realizes, and then Elaine realizes too, because of the shoes and because of how Kramer sounded, because he had all that Novocaine in him, they realized that Deansfry thought that Kramer was mentally challenged. So, of course, Kramer's not, but yet he, didn't look like he made the whole thing up to trick him. So what happens? Well, wait, was Jerry's story over with? Or did Jerry really have a storyline in this? I don't think so. I think he was just kind of like... no, I'm sorry. Getting back to Jerry, he goes to get his filling done. Well, this time, of course, obviously after what happened with Kramer, he got how loaded up on Novocaine he got, he wanted gas. Which, of course, in a deleted scene, Wally's hygienist assistant in the deleted scene was shown in one of those Penthouse magazines. So Jerry's a little bit freaked out by that, but what was not in the script, though, was when Whatley decided to, just like get like a taste of like the gas mask. That was all, not in the script. That was just, just for the fun of it. It actually made me think of Orange Scrivello from Little Shop of Horrors. But of course, Whatley wasn't like, crazy about, that nitrous oxide or whatnot used for the gas. But they put Jerry under for his filling. But of course, when he wakes up, he thinks that, they were playing a trick on him because it looked like they were getting dressed. And he was freaked out by that. And of course, in the closing credits scene, instead of the stand-up, it shows Jerry and Kramer walking down the street. And Kramer's reading a Penthouse. And he's reading about some dentist who said recently him and his hygienist pulled a little bit of a joke on one of their patients, and Jerry realizes it's Whatley talking about him. Of course, they're so friends with Whatley. That's the Penthouse never got brought up, but of course, I think one of the next times we see him is all about Jewish and Catholic jokes and whatnot. So we'll get to that episode down the line. But anyways, we get to we completed George's storyline, we completed Jerry's. We get back to the Velvet Fog. So Elaine is attending with Jimmy. She was in line with Kramer, went to go find some candy. Jimmy came in when Kramer came back, and then Jimmy who's still, trying to get his revenge on Kramer for hurting him, starts beating up Kramer. And of course they take Jimmy out, they pull him out, they're a little like, don't touch Jimmy, as he's saying and whatnot. But Jimmy had to do Kramer a little bit of a favor because he got his lip from the punches in Kramer's face. His lip was swollen, so once again made Kramer look like he was mentally challenged. And then at the dinner, Mel Torme sung a song dedicated to Kramer, "When You're Smiling," which made me think of an episode of Full House where Jesse and Joey were trying to do a commercial for Permateeth, and Jesse wanted to do some musical thing to "When You're Smiling." So that's what it made me think of. But that's how the episode ends. And that's the Jimmy. Again, I find it funny. I remember this episode stands out to me because of this episode, there was someone I went to high school. He was a year ahead of me in high school. His name was Jimmy also, but I never said it to his face. But my mom and I would jokingly be like, every time we see him, because of Seinfeld, we would go, "Oh, there's Jimmy over there. Jimmy ran the race hard." Or, we saw him at church with our altar, and he goes, "Jimmy carries a cross. Jimmy brought Father the wine. Jimmy rang the bell." So, of course, it's Jimmy, all these jokes. Of course, also in this episode was also the first episode where a few times George inadvertently starts referring to himself in the third person but doesn't admit it. Like, George likes spicy chicken, or George is getting upset, which happens several times, of course, as well. Even whenever he was talking to Steinbrenner, trying to convince him that he didn't steal the equipment, he goes, "George would never do any such thing," or whatnot. But, it's a funny episode. It's one of my favorites. So, yeah. Demand liked this episode. And that's going to be it for Demand's video. So what were your thoughts on the Jimmy episode? Make sure to leave your thoughts down in Demand's comment section below. And be sure as always to slap the like button for Demand's channel. Subscribe to Demand's Twitter. And follow Demand on Twitter at DemandAirBonnie3. And make sure to subscribe to Demand's channel as well. Next video is going to be the Doodle, which is also one that Demand does like. I wouldn't say it's not quite one of Demand's favorites, but Demand still enjoys this episode. Okay, it's enough. I'm talking to third person like Jimmy, but that's it. I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. And remember, when you're smiling. I don't know the rest of the words, but whatever. All right, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night. And peace out, everybody.